Data nerds, welcome to this tutorial on Notion. We're going to be walking through my process and using this app in order to cover everything you need to know to get started. Now, Notion is an all-in-one workspace for note-taking, project management, and even collaborating. I use this bad boy daily to manage simple things like my to-do list to even more complex tasks like planning and developing all of my videos and courses. And because it's all within Notion, it then makes it super easy for me to share this content with others, which I've actually linked below of my Notion template and also cheat sheet. Now this tool can get quite intimidating, especially with how complex you can build out certain features inside of it. So we're gonna break it down to the basics. We're gonna start here first with understanding some core concepts about Notion. All right, as you can see, we're inside of Notion. And this is our workspace, which is a central hub that collects and organizes all our different data and notes that we want to put inside of it. The sidebar over here allows us to navigate into all these different things. Now, everything inside of here is a block. And what do I mean by that? Well, in this page, this text is a block, this image is a block, this table's a block, and everything inside of it, its own individual block. Oh, and I can even have a block of another page within a page. Because these are all blocks, they can be easily moved and rearranged, or even transferred into another block. Now, there are two primary building blocks that you need to know that we can use inside of here. The first are pages, and the second are databases. Pages, as the name states, they're basically pages, but are a blank canvas that allow us to put in any number of things. Like we saw previously, we can put text, images, or even tables. However, some of my favorite include things like embedded links that can navigate us to another web page or even include a video inside of here. Now, and I'm a coder, so obviously I like how they handle code blocks or even formatting of code. Now, moving on to databases. Unlike pages, they're a much more structured way in order to organize your content. Now, this is a table view of my YouTube videos. It's how I plan all my content. Anyway, it can come in a variety of different forms. I can also look at it as a calendar view or even gallery view. So for one of these entries inside of this video database, I can go through and put things like my script inside of here and keep it in an organized manner. Because these databases are a block, they can be either inside of a page or their own individual page. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So what the heck are we gonna be covering in this tutorial? Well, the first thing we're gonna do is actually get you set up with installing Notion. Next, we're gonna move into pages, looking how we can create and also organize them. We're gonna walk through an example of creating my to-do list. Then we're gonna move into Notion AI, which Notion has graciously agreed to sponsor this segment of the video, and I'm gonna showcase off a lot of the new features of the new Notion AI. From there, we're gonna move into databases, understanding how to structure and manage all our different content. Specifically, we're gonna walk through an example and how to keep track of different meetings or classes you may have. And finally, we're gonna move into collaboration filters, not only commenting, but also how you can share things like pages to the internet, such as my cheat sheet that I've made available in the link below for you to go and use. Now, Notion has a few different plans you can choose from, but everything we're gonna cover within this video is covered by this free plan. It affords you unlimited personal use, and it's the plan I used 4 years ago when I started using this tool. It wasn't until I started building out my YouTube team that I actually needed to upgrade to a paid plan. So I feel 99% of y'all can fall into the free plan. Now, Notion AI, which is completely optional, can be added to any one of those plans. And you can get as low as $8 a month, but we'll go over more over that in a little bit. With all those basics out of the way, let's actually jump in, download Notion, and actually start working with it. So using the link below, navigate over to notion.so, and you're gonna click this of download Notion for free. And I'm on a Windows machine, so I'm gonna download for Windows. It's gonna walk through the installer setup. Then you need to create a login using one of your email accounts. In your browser, after authenticating your email, you may get this note of the site is trying to open Notion. Basically, you want to click this because you want to always allow anytime you're in the browser for it to open this Notion app. So back in the actual Notion app that you just installed, you're going to go ahead and select this is for personal use and continue. And they also have this option to select what you want to use Notion for. Go ahead and feel free to select the ones most applicable to you. Not really going to matter. Depending on which ones you selected, you're going to have different templates actually uploaded onto here. The sidebar over here on the left-hand side has a lot of features that we're about to walk through. But I do want to call out real quick that here in the center, this is where the actual content is that you can navigate to with that sidebar. In this case, this private portion is your private Notion workspace that has all the different pages inside of it. Now, depending on what we selected in that last step, It included things of a to-do list, personal website, and a project planner because that's what I selected. And if you're like, dang it, I wish I would have selected some other things as well, well, feel free to just go into this template section right here. And it allows you to explore a lot of different templates depending on what you need. And if say I'm looking for something like an assignment tracker and I find something that I want, I just click on it and then from there click add. And now it's added into my private workspace and I can go to it and actually access it. Some other features of this sidebar, you have a search option that you can go through and actually either search for a particular page or maybe a particular item. Notion AI allows you to use AI inside of Notion. We got a whole section on that coming up right after this section. Home provides a nice little dashboard for you to see your recently viewed pages along with anything else you may be tracking. And then if you're collaborating with others, working on Notion pages or whatnot, it will be here in your inbox where you can keep track of different tags or comments. We'll cover more on that in the last section of this video. Below your private workspace, you have a bunch of different options. You have your settings here to go in and actually mess with your different settings. If I wanted to, I could revert back to light mode, but I can't do that to myself. I have to go back to dark mode. And if you decide to upgrade your planner at any point, this is where you're actually going to go to control that. Last few sections are templates, which we already covered. Trash, anytime you delete any different pages, you can go right here and recover it as long as it's been less than 30 days. And then they have even a help section as well. All right, that's enough of the sidebar. Let's actually get into building this to-do list. So if you don't want to see the sidebar, you can just click up here to close the sidebar. Then it's going to hide off to the side. Then if you want to open it back up, you just click the hamburger icon and it appears right there. We're not going to use any of these different templates that were provided. We're going to be creating our own. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these. With all these deleted, I'm going to go ahead and select add a page. And this is going to provide a blank page to start with. Now in this new page we're going to be creating this thing here, a to-do list. It's pretty simple. It has this trash can up at the top that basically is going to collect all our different to-do list items that we've completed. From there, we're going to have a today list and a tomorrow list, and we'll be able to put different items in there that we can go ahead and click off as we complete. And then if we wanted to, drag it into trash and get rid of it. So let's get to work. With every page, you need to give it a title. So in this case, we're going to give it the title of to-do list, and that's the minimum required for this. However, I would suggest you to also add an icon. And you can select from any number of ones, either an emoji, icons that they actually have, or you can even upload your own. We're just going to keep it to emoji for the time being of a check mark. Now down here at the bottom, it has options to get you started with either AI or frankly, a lot of different database options, which I don't feel like we're ready just yet for, so we're gonna save that. So we're creating two lists. One is a today list, and then we also need a tomorrow list. So in this case, this today list is its own block, and the tomorrow list is also its own block. We can drag these blocks around any way we want. I can even drag it on over here on the other hand side, so then we can break it up into columns. Let's add some items to our list. All you gotta do is press enter, and it goes and creates another block right below your previous block. I included a few items below this. All right, but looking at this visually, this is actually pretty hard for you to actually discern what's the list, what's in each list, what can I check off and whatnot, so we need to format this. Well, there's three major options you can do for this. The first, the easiest, is a slash command. So you use a // and from there, it prompts you to allow you to select different types of blocks that you can actually enter into here. So in this case, if I wanted something like a heading 1, I can use that. So in this case, change this to today list. I can then go from there and actually replace where it is and then delete this one. For the items below this, I want to make them into like a to-do list item where I can check them off. So once again, pressing that / command, I can actually search for this. So I can type in something like to do, and then I see it selected here. All I have to do is just press enter and it goes ahead and put it in. Now, there's no easy way for me to actually put this into here. I would actually have to copy this here by right-clicking it, selecting cut, and then from there actually pasting it inside of here. That brings me into our second option that we can actually format text. And the second option is around shortcuts, which conveniently I've put into that Notion cheat sheet linked below. Anyway, if you scroll on down to the keyboard shortcuts section, we can see that there are different options to format by pressing the Control-Shift plus a certain number key. If you're on a Mac, you're gonna press Command option. We wanna make this into to-do list, so we're gonna press Control-Shift-4. On the line we're actually selected, I'm gonna press Control-Shift-4, and makes it into to-do list. It's also convenient because I can format other things. In this case, I'm gonna press Control-Shift-1 to make the heading of tomorrow list into heading 1, and then this into Control-Shift-4 into a to-do list item. Now there's one last formatting option, and that's using Markdown, which I've linked here in the cheat sheet. It allows you to use certain special symbols in order to format your text in a certain way. In the case of headings, we could just use those hashtags. either 1, 2, or 3, whether to denote heading 1, 2, or 3. You could also use things like double asterisks or single asterisks in order to bold or italicize. I find this most convenient whenever I'm actually starting out to write. So in this case, I could write a hashtag space and then it automatically makes it into heading 1 and do this of today list. Similarly, I can do this over here. If I wanted to, I could do even 3 and make this tomorrow list. If I wanted to change it, I can even go back into the front, put the hashtag, put a space, and it's going to change it. All right, last thing to make for this to-do list is we need a trash bin to keep all of our to-do list items in once they're complete. And this is going to be in a page. So I'm going to go ahead and press the / command and type in page, press enter. We want to call this trash, and we'll use a fitting emoji of a trash can. So we can navigate back into our to-do list by using this breadcrumb navigation, or I could use this back icon right here. And we have this trash page. I want it at the very top, so I'm gonna go ahead and move it right up here. And now as we complete items on our list, we can go ahead and either leave them checked off or we can drag it up here and put it into trash. So just to show that this is the same process that I use, this is my to-do list. And I've been using this format for years and I keep it as simple as a format as possible to minimize the burden and make sure that I stay on track. So that's why I'm recommending this approach as well. Now that we're done with this to-do list, let's get into building out a knowledge page. This is how I keep track of all the different things that I learned over the years, and I keep it inside of Notion. As usual, we're going to keep it simple. In the knowledge page, we're going to have something, maybe we're learning about language or whatever you're learning, and then also maybe tech apps. And in this, we'll be learning Python and Notion. Now, this section of the video is sponsored by Notion, so we're going to be going into how we can use the new Notion AI to basically generate things like a study plan for learning Python. Now, I do want to call out Notion AI does cost, if you get it annually, around $8 a month, but if you go monthly, it's $10 a month. And it's basically like having ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude right inside of Notion for like half the cost. Now I've been using and also paying for Notion AI over the past year. So I do want to call out that I was loyal to this even before Notion reached out to me and asked to sponsor this video. Now in no ways does this mean you need to purchase Notion AI to complete this whole tutorial or do everything like that. Notion actually is going to provide you a few free credits that you can go ahead and still use Notion AI. It should be enough to get you through this tutorial, and then you can decide whether or not you want to get it or not. So enough yapping, let's actually get into building out our Notion page. Here I've added a new page here. I'm going to close the sidebar and we're going to call it knowledge. I'll add an icon and conveniently it's going to be a brain. For this, let's also add a cover image, which is that image right up here behind it. And we can come up here and select change cover. They have a few different options. You can use their gallery here. You can upload an image, or you can use a link, or you can even use Unsplash. You can type in some sort of keyword in this case, and I like this little chalkboard here. So let's add our two sections that we're going to be building out. One is for languages. In our case, we're going to say hypothetically we learn Python. And then the other one's going to be tech apps. For each one of these, we're going to dress them up a little bit. So I'm going to actually add this thing called a call out. And this basically puts like a fancy dancy border around your thing. So I'm going to go ahead and drag languages into here and also make it heading 1. And I can go ahead and change this icon to something basically more appropriate. I'm going to do the same thing with tech apps and create a call out block. We'll change the color of this one by actually selecting it, going here and selecting color. And then going for the background color, we'll change it to orange. Move tech apps into here and also make it heading 1. Also go ahead and change that icon for it. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one off to the side over here. Under languages, we're gonna create our first page here. We'll go ahead and set select page. And this one's gonna be for Python. I'm gonna add an icon of, as you guessed it, snake. Navigating back to the knowledge page, we're gonna do the same thing with tech apps of creating a page. For this one, we've been using this emoji. I'm gonna go to icons, and they have a lot of different things in here. Specifically, I can type in Notion. And from there I can select this and I want it color blue, bam. So let's say I wanted to add to this knowledge base all these different / commands that we just previously covered. I could manually type it out, but instead we're going to use Notion AI for this. There's a few different ways you can access it. You can come down here on the right-hand side and use basically the chat box down here. It's also conveniently located. If we open up the sidebar, I can go inside of here and basically open up its own individual page for it. In our case though, I want to do it right here inside of the page. So what I'm going to do is press space, and then it automatically activates Notion AI and I can type my prompt. In this case, I type in provide a list of / commands in Notion. It's going to go ahead and think, and then from there actually execute what actually you can do with this. Now the text that it's suggesting is in blue. It doesn't automatically just put it in. You have to either accept it, discard it, insert below, or try again. We're going to go ahead and accept it. Now what's really neat about Notion AI is you not only can generate content, but you can also format. So I can go ahead and select all of these items. And let's say I wanted to put it into a table. With this selected, I select Ask AI and prompt it, make this into a table. Once again, it shows you the changes in blue, and then with the removals, basically with the slash through below this, I like this, I'm gonna click accept. The last thing I'm gonna do with this, I wanna make this a little bit more pretty. So I'm gonna select the table itself and then select Ask AI again. And I'm gonna go ahead and prompt it, add emojis in the first column with these commands. And in my opinion, this makes it a lot easier to identify things like, oh, a code block. That's what I'll use for that slash command. I like this, I'm gonna accept it. That's a pretty good use case of content generation. Let's actually use it for something like generating a study plan. In this case, let's say for Python, we wanted some sort of 30-day study plan. I can get Notion AI to also pop up by pressing Control-J and prompting it, create a 30-day Python study plan for beginners. This is pretty nice, but I'm also very visual, so I want something more visual at the top. So I prompted it again, add a milestone at the top of this study plan showing key milestones. And now it creates this fancy dancy graph at the top of here, along with the week-by-week study plan that you can do. I like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and click accept. All right, 2 other use cases real quick. Let's say we're taking notes on something like Python functions. And if you're like me, you take these notes that are basically not readable by anything, but they are readable by AI. So selecting all these different items and going to Ask AI, I provide the prompt of clean up these notes and structure them basically more appropriately so I can actually use them. Now, based on the changes that it did, this isn't bad. It basically formatted it a lot better, but I like having examples, so I can just prompt it, add simple code examples in each section. And it has all these different examples in here. I'll go ahead and accept this. And so now for something like this functions, not only do I have my notes cleaned up, but I also have this example right below it in a code block. All right, the last main use case that I have for this is content discovery. Here's my actual knowledge base that I have that I keep track of all the different things that I'm learning. Similarly, inside of languages, I do have things like Python, along with breaking it down into all the different libraries. Anyway, let's say that I'm curious to find out what are the top libraries I use for machine learning. Like I said, I could specify further. In this case, the open page, I want to search in there, and I can go ahead and press enter. And searching into it, it tells me the top libraries that I use, along with the sources, so I can then navigate into and quickly identify what I know previously. We're gonna crank things up a little bit, and we're gonna now dive into databases. Databases are a great way to store structured content. And I use it for a variety of things, such as YouTube videos, where here in this case, I have this video here that I have the script for right inside of it. And the script's pretty nice, but I also like it because I have all these different fields up here that I can fill in based on maybe the launch date, phase, or even sponsor. And we can also have different views of databases. We can easily create it. Anyway, this one would be the calendar view, so I can see when a video is going to be posted, or a board view in order to see which ones are in progress, which ones I'm brainstorming, and which ones are done. If you keep up with my content, you know I make a lot of courses on different skills. I recently released an Excel video. Anyway, I'm meeting weekly with my producer, Kelly Adams, and we organize our meetings within this database. Specifically, we just met yesterday to go over intermediate SQL course, and we're talking about databases and what next steps we need to do, and we can all document it within here. For the courses that we're making it inside of databases because it allows me to store, in this case, this is Excel, we can store the different lessons and chapters in a structured manner in order to what we want to go into and then record the scripts right within it. And with that Excel course, I also have a timeline that created within a database. Anyway, so what are we gonna be doing in this section? Well, we're gonna be creating 2 databases. The first one is going to be on the meetings themselves or the meeting events in this upper database. With it, we'll be able to record certain metrics with it. And then inside of the meeting themselves, it will show a to-do list or the to-do database, which we're going to build a second, and the agenda or whatever below it. What's neat about this is that we can actually create templates with the meetings. So I just click that new button and it automatically generated this whole template that has our second database in it and also an agenda below it so we can start filling it in. And this is pretty neat because within this meeting, say this is meeting 5, we could add in a new task, assign it a status of something like done or in progress, and we can see it populates in this to-do list down here. But the coolest thing is we can actually create relations. So we can relate it to this meeting that we're in right now of meeting number 5, so we know what this task is associated with. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's actually dive into this. So inside your Notion, let's add a new page. We're gonna call this meetings. And to set with this icon of a handshake. So you could use these buttons down at the bottom and select what type of database you want. I'm old fashioned, I like to use slash commands, and I'll type in database. Now there's two main options, inline and full page. Let's go with inline first. This creates a database inside of this page that we are right here, and then we need to link or create a database. We want basically a new table, so I'm gonna go ahead and click this. Now the other options for database, if I type it on in, is full page. So if I do this, it's gonna throw it into a new page, and I can't actually add anything below this database that it created right here. And if we navigate back to that meetings page, it's a page inside of here. I don't want it like this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. All right, I'm gonna name this database meeting events. Inside this database right now, there's only one column, its name. We can add other columns as well. Let's go ahead and actually select name and select edit property. With this property, I can go in and actually change the name of this, and I'll change this to meeting name. Let's add our next column by clicking this add icon right here. I'm gonna type in date, and we're gonna call this one, well, in order to generate this, of meeting date. We can see inside the properties of this, that's the type of date, has a full date format, it's 12-hour format, that's perfectly fine, we'll continue on. Next thing I'm gonna do is for the persons attending this meeting. So I'll go ahead and click this add icon, type in person, and we'll add this one. We have one more column to add. Let's go ahead and fill this in based on what a meetings look like so we can see how this is looking. So I'm gonna call this meeting number 1. We'll say the meeting date is for today. And then for the person, right now I only have inside my network 𝗏𝗏, but if you add other people, you can add them as well. So now we wanna add a tag to this. Maybe you're having meetings related to school, work, or home, whatever, not. This is where we can add some sort of select option for this. Now instead of typing in, I'm just gonna scroll on down to see the different types within here, but they have select and multi-select. We're gonna go with multi-select for this one. And this edit property pops up as soon as I did that. I'm gonna add some options to this. So I just typed in home, work, and school. It added them all in. And then if I wanna click on it and actually change the color, I can do that as well. So in this case, if I want this one to be brown, and work will make it blue. Okay, so now whenever I close out of this, and then I come down here into the multi-select, I can then select multiple different options to put inside of here. Now, one thing you may notice with this database getting this long, it's getting sort of hard to see. So what I can do is come up here to these 3 ellipses up here, and it has a couple different options for how I can format this page for small text or large text or whatnot. I'm gonna toggle instead this full width, and it actually takes use of the entire page for this. One thing I'm gonna change real quick is from this multi-select, I don't want it to be that title. Instead, we're gonna make it about. All right, now what if we wanna look at this database in different types of views? Right now, it's only in this table view. Well, I can come up here and select this plus icon, and it allows me to view this current database in a different view. And if I wanted to, I can come down here and select calendar. And now with this, I can see in a calendar-like view when my meetings are. Additionally, if I wanted to view it in a different manner, such as a board, right now it's showing it based on just the board of the name of the meeting. Anyway, I can change the properties of this by selecting these 3 ellipses. And in this, I want to go into what is the grouping for this. And right now we're grouping by, apparently it's grouped by the person. I would rather it group by the about. So I have different sections for home, school, and work. This is much more applicable. So that way, if I wanted to scroll through here, I see I have all these meetings. Now I would go to this view, see which meeting is for which about. So let's put our first entry into this database. I'm gonna come up here and select this new button right here. And it's gonna pop up a page to the right-hand side of this for this new entry. I'll just put it in here. We'll call this meeting number 2. For the about, we'll say it's for work. If I wanted to add more properties beyond this 3, I could also do it here. Or if I wanted to add in a comment, I could do that there. But we're gonna go to below this of the contents of this database entry. Typically for me, I have some sort of to-do list inside of here, or what I get are the actual insights from a meeting. And I'll put these in to-do list like items inside of here. Now on top of this, I typically have some sort of agenda that I need to get through for this. And it's usually in this bullet point like format. Anyway, it would be pretty cumbersome for me every single time to go through, and I know I have this to-do list and agenda and certain items to fill in here, and fill this out every single time I have a meeting. That's why templates come to your rescue. So clicking inside back in these meetings page, I'm gonna click this down arrow right here, and this has templates for meeting events, and we can create a new template. It tells me up the top that I'm editing a template currently in meeting events. For the new page itself, I want to start off with meeting number, and I can fill in the number after it. For the date, I don't want to necessarily pick the 31st or this current date. Instead, what I want to do is they have shortcuts up here. I can either do now or today. I'm just going to put today in there, and it's going to automatically generate the day of today. For the person, I always want to include myself in it. And then the about, I will fill in. For the contents, I'm actually going to fill it in with that to-do list, putting a to-do list item underneath it. Additionally, I'll put a section in there for agenda, and we'll do one bullet point there to automatically get it started. Okay, we're good to go for our template here. So it automatically saves. All I have to do is just click outside of here. And I now need to enable this template. So clicking that arrow again, right now the empty is set to the default, but the meeting hashtag is the one that we want to set to the default. So I'm gonna click these 3 ellipses right here and say set as default. And since I have multiple views, it asks me which one I want to do it for. I want to do it for all views. And we can see now it's updated to default. Now when I click new, it automatically generates this with this meeting number. I can put meeting number 3 with today's date. The person, I can put in the about now that I want to, but it automatically has that to-do list and agenda right below filled in. So templates are a huge time saver. Our last database to move into is for this to-do list. I know I talked about previously, I don't use database for this, but I actually got a unique use case for this. Let's say I have a task inside of here. We'll call this task number 1, and it's assigned to meeting number 3. But then fast forward and we have another meeting. We'll call this meeting number 4. And I'm carrying out this meeting. How can I look back on past to-dos? Well, if it was in a database, I could put this database inside of the template and then be able to look back on what tasks we have done and what have we not done. So below our meetings database, I'm gonna come down here, type in database, and we're gonna do an inline one. For the new view, we're gonna say that this is gonna be a new table. I'm gonna scroll down here so we can actually see it. This will be called meeting to-dos. For this, we'll have the name. We'll change this to to-do item. We're gonna add another column as well. And instead of doing multi-select, I want a select option because I wanna select whether it's done or not done. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a few different tasks to this. All right, so we have a few different items into this. Now what I wanna do is, if we go back to our meetings database and look at a meeting entry, right, we wanna actually include this inside of here. And the best way of doing that is going back to that meeting number and actually editing that template. So underneath this to-do list, we'll get rid of this to-do list item, and I'll type in / and then database. So for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and add in an inline view of this. And when I go to create this one, I wanna link it to an existing database, specifically those meetings to do. And then it's prompting me what view do I want. I'll go ahead with that table view that I created already, and we'll name this to-do list. Go ahead and close out that. Okay, so now this is appearing inside of this template. So if I come back out of here and we create another new event, we'll call this meeting number 5. Then for here, if we get a new task during this, we can go ahead and say, hey, we're gonna have task number 4. And for this, it is in progress. It gets added inside of here, but also scrolling down here, we can see it gets added to our to-do list below here. Now this brings us to the last problem to solve, and that's for these tasks, what meeting was it created in so I can go back and maybe look at the agenda to find out why a certain task was created? Well, what we can do is we can actually create a relationship between our meeting events database and our meeting to-dos database. What do I mean by that? Well, let's create this new column here. And I'm gonna scroll on down, and they have this field here called relation. It connects databases and mentions databases pages, useful for connecting items across your workspace. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that. And for which database we want to connect to, we're in the meeting to-dos, so we wanna connect to meeting events. So it says, hey, this is the name of the column, meeting events, related to meeting events, the limit or the number of pages you wanna actually be able to limit. You could have technically more than one, so we'll leave no limit. And then it has this of show on a meeting events. Like, do we want this to appear on that other database table? We'll leave it no for right now. And we'll select add relation. So now we knew that task number 4 was creating in meeting number 5. We can go ahead and select that. And now we know which one it's actually related to. If we wanted to change it to where meeting events also shows the to-dos, we could just go back in here to edit the property and then just select this for show on meeting events, update this relationship. And now whenever we go into it, we can see that the meeting to-dos have the different tasks associated with this as well. Makes it pretty convenient. So boom, now we have 2 databases that you just created for our meetings themselves and also all the different to-do items as well. If I wanted to, I could add it to my actual to-do list page. I'm gonna put a divider in real quick, add in that database of inline, and then add in those meeting to-dos, and bam, it's appearing now below this inside of our to-do list as well. All right, let's move into this last little section on collaboration. We're going to be focused on two main topics. The first is how you can collaborate with others, basically work on Notion pages together. And then two is how you can actually share your Notion pages to the interwebs so other people can see your work. So how can you collaborate with others on a Notion page? As I mentioned, I work with my producer, Kelly. We're building out our next course on intermediate SQL. Anyway, if I open up the sidebar here, I have this inbox that we talked about previously, and this has all the different comments allowing us to communicate back and forth on a certain topic. Specifically, I did some research on some different databases we're gonna be using for this, and I'm able to comment and tag her, and she's able to tag me back. We're able to communicate back and forth in real time. And in order to do something like this, you actually need to share whatever you're trying to share. Conveniently, Notion has this up at the top corner of any of your pages of share, and this allows you to actually to go in and select the people who you want to share with, and all the pages below it are also shared with them. Now, another option to share things is via the interwebs or the internet. And as you can see up at the top banner right here that says this page is live on lukebaruch.notion.site. I've made it available by going to share and then clicking publish. And then if I want to check this out on the internet, I can just copy this link, and inside my browser, I can access it just like anybody else can. So what are we gonna be doing for this exercise? Well, we're gonna be creating basically this cheat sheet here that I've shared below in the link below, generating all the different content for it. Yes, I know this YouTube video is wrong. I haven't made this video, sort of meta. We're in the middle of making of it. As soon as it is, I'll add it. And with this, we're gonna walk through how to actually share this to the web or share with others. So I went ahead and created a new page called Notion Cheat Sheet, put an icon on it, and I'm gonna change this bad boy up to full width so that way it extends all the way over. We're gonna add a couple of content to this before actually even sharing it. First one is the Notion video. For the video, I'm just gonna come and get the link of this video here. You can use this Notion video if you want and actually copy the URL. Then inside of here, I'm gonna press Control-V to paste it on in. And it has a few different options. We can either do a mention, a bookmark, embedded, or a URL. We're gonna do embedded. And it will actually put the video inside of here. I'm gonna go ahead and drag it underneath this column here. As far as the links themselves, I can link to those other pages that we've previously created. So using that @ sign, I can type that and then type in to do. I could, if I wanted to, share the to-do list. Along with pressing the @ sign again, I could share my meetings and just go ahead and select this. And you can do any number of pages that you want to share. Last thing I'm gonna include is this markdown cheat sheet is just another URL. So similarly, whenever I paste a URL in here, I'm gonna have those same options of mention, URL, bookmark, or embedded. Personally, I like the bookmark option anytime I'm doing a link. And it formats it pretty well to tell what is it about along with the actual cover image associated with it. Okay, this is enough information to now go about sharing. So we come up here and we can select share. If we want to share to another individual, we would just come in here and put their email of that person we want to share with. I'm not gonna go ahead and share with anybody for this, but say going back to one of the pages I am sharing currently, I have it shared with Kelly and our actual icon will appear up there with all those that are sharing it. Now, the other option in share is publish. And that's what we're gonna be doing with this. We're gonna create a website with Notion, gonna go ahead and select publish. It provides me with the URL. I can go ahead and copy it here if I want. You can get it to actually index based on Google or search indexing. You also do an expiration where it expires after a certain time. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and click View Site, and bam, right inside my web browser with this URL, I have access to it. Now you'll notice that these pages have no access right here. And the reason for that is we actually go back to our Notion app and actually slide it open. That Notion cheat sheet is these items of to-do list, knowledge, and message aren't within that Notion cheat sheet. So if you wanted them to have access to it, you'd have to either take it and drag it into here and make it to where they have access inside this page, or just make those pages public. But that's beyond the scope we're going to. Just want to make you aware of it. All right, so that's my intro to using Notion that I wish I would have had when I first started. Anyway, any of the templates or things that we did in this that you're curious about implementing in your own workflow and you got lost on the way, remember I have the links below in order for you to go there and actually build off these templates. Thanks again to Notion for sponsoring the Notion AI segment of this. And as always, if you got value out of this video, smash that like button. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.